Is buy-to-let investing dead? Hey, it's Chris here from Property Abundance, and in this video we're going to look at if our old friend buy-to-let, the vanilla version of property investing, is dead in today's market. Now firstly, before we dive into this, let's just discuss, well firstly, what is buy-to-let investing for anybody who doesn't know. So buy-to-let investing is simply where we are buying property and we are using a lot of mortgage finance to fund that property. Now in today's market, you can borrow 75% of the value of a property. Okay, now that means that you still need to save up a deposit of 25%. But let's go back just a few years, not even that long ago, to the noughties, pre-2008 crash, if you can remember that far back. Now back then, buy-to-let was a whole different game. Okay, back then you could get a 95 to even 100% mortgage, meaning the bank would pay for up to 100% of the value of the property. Now you still have to buy your stamp duty and you still have to pay your legal fees. But if 100% of the main cost is funded for you, how many can you buy? Well, kind of unlimited, right? Okay, as long as your stamp duty, you've got a source of funds for your stamp duty and legal fees. But this is crazy. Like, if you think back to that market, I wish I was young enough back then, I wish I was old enough back then that I could have taken advantage of this. Because, okay, let's say it wasn't 100%, let's say it was only 95%, but even with a 95% mortgage, if you wanted to buy a £200,000 house, you only need to save up 10 grand. So with £10,000, you have 200 grand's worth of purchasing power. This is why property is so exciting as a strategy in general, is because of this leverageable effect. Okay, because your money is worth like more than it's actually worth. You have more purchasing power than the actual value of your pound. Now, again, let's paint a picture. Let's say that back then you had, 50 grand saved up. Okay, enough to buy one house today. If you were using 100% mortgages, and let's say your tax bill was 10k per deal, what is currently the ability to do one deal? Back then you could have done 5 deals with just by paying your taxes. Now that means that you have 5 houses that you haven't bought or paid for in any way, other than to pay the stamp duty. But 100% of any future asset appreciation on that property belongs to you. So 5 houses going up at a rate of, 8-9% per year, you're going to make double your money in about 10 years from zero investment. Okay, so you've doubled the value of your property. Now that's why buy-to-let used to be so freaking exciting, because where else can you double your money in 10 years from something that pays you a cash flow? Now don't get me wrong, if you're taking out 100% mortgage, your cash flow is going to be minimal. Okay, you're not going to make that much money because you have to pay the cost of interest on that mortgage. But then we went through this period of artificially low mortgage rates as well, didn't we? So not only were you actually making all the asset appreciation value from that asset as it went up in value over time, but you're also actually making a bit of cash flow because the mortgage rate is so cheap to service. Then the 2008 crash happened. Now, after the 2008 crash, obviously property prices took a massive tumble because of all the bad debt associated with the subprime markets. Now that meant that the financial institutions had to get more regulated, and they brought in a slew of regulations. Now, the two that affected us the most as property investors were firstly, larger deposits, okay, needing to have 75% loan to value ratios. That means that you can only borrow, 75% of the value of the house. So instantly, we've reduced the amount of purchasing power that we have quite considerably. Okay, instead of 20 times, it's now only 5 times, or 4 times, sorry. On top of that, there was also a stress test brought in that looked at the affordability of that mortgage for that property. So for example, if you want to have a buy-to-let mortgage today, you need to have between 125 to 145% of the value of the mortgage in rental income. So that means, for example, if you're going to pay £1,000 to the mortgage company per month and it's going to cost you £1,000 a month in interest, your rental income on that property needs between £1,250 and £1,450. Now the reason it's a range is because there's different providers in the market that will accept different levels of risk. But it has to be a minimum of 125% stress test now. Now, by the way, if you're finding this kind of video useful, please do me a massive favor, hit that like button, comment below which is your area of buy-to-let investing, and do you think buy-to-let investing is dead? Now, I'm going to make my case in the rest of this video. But let me know what you think as well, and please subscribe to the video to stay, or subscribe to the channel, I should say, to stay up to date with the latest property content out of my own property business. So what was the next thing? Well, that was the 2008 crash. Now that had a big impact on the ability to use buy-to-let as a wealth creation strategy, because now all of a sudden you had to save up these 25% deposits. So if you're buying a £200,000 house, now you have to save up 50 grand in deposits. So it's all of a sudden quite a big barrier to entry for a lot of people. Then it got worse, okay, because then the government brought in a tax change. It was called Section 24. Now it sounds pretty harmless on the surface, but this tax change makes no sense. So this means that now, instead of calculating your tax on the profit that you earn, they are calculating your tax on the profit you earn before you deduct the cost of your finance. And you're still going to pay that cost of finance, so you are literally being taxed on money you have not earned. Don't look for the logic, okay? There is no logic there. This is HMRC we're talking about. So if anybody from HMRC is working, thanks for that one. Now, the next thing that really messed things up, and this is more recently, was interest rates. Now, we had this long period of artificially low interest rates where we were paying, I can remember taking out an interest-only mortgage and paying like 1.25%. It was like crazy low. And we had that for over a decade. So it kind of became the norm, and it kind of became ingrained in people's head. Who get interested in mortgages? They're super cheap, super cheap. But then all of a sudden they weren't super cheap because the Bank of England put the interest rates up. So not only have you got to save up your larger deposits, not only have you got to have this higher stress test, not only can you no longer claim your finance cost as a tax deductible expense, but now on top of that, the cost of servicing your mortgage has, in some people's cases, tripled. So it's gone from like 1.5% up to like 5.5%. So the cost of that mortgage is now triple what it once was. So they're being, old school buy-to-let landlords are being hammered from all sides. So for this reason, my proclamation is old school buy-to-let investing is dead. Sorry. Now, don't get your hopes too depressed or don't get too down about this, because there is another way. And this is called the new way. And this is where we leave a no money left in strategy. Now, this is still a method of owning property. It's still a way that you can start to create generational wealth and buy properties that you can hand down to the next generation. But instead of leaving large sums of money tied up in every single deal we do, we need to find creative ways of getting that money back out of the property. Now, there's 3 ways we can do this. 2 of them are cash flow application strategies where we can invest in a property and start using it as an HMO or a serviced apartment that are going to create much higher rates of return in terms of cash flow from the properties we own. But even more creatively than that is the strategy called buy, refurbish, refinance. Now, this is where we take a house and we buy it for the lowest amount we possibly can. Now, we might find a property that's in a poor state of repair, one where people are going through divorce and they just want to offload it for any price, just so they don't have to talk to each other again. People who are facing repossession. And we start to buy these properties for as low a price as possible. Now what we need to do is add as much value to these properties as we possibly can for as little cost as possible. So we're aiming to double our investment into the property. So for every £1 we spent fixing the property up, doing it up, we're aiming to create £2 of value. And then once we've done things like extensions, attic conversions, maybe rear extensions, side extensions under permitted development rules, maybe creating additional bedrooms by splitting up massive, particularly large rooms, maybe thinking about more open plan living downstairs, raising the standard through new bathrooms, new kitchens, these kind of things. Once we've done these things, we then get the property revalued. And with that new valuation, we take that valuation to a mortgage company and extract our equity back out of the deal. Now, once we do that, obviously any money we've put in, the more of that we can get back out, the less is left tied into the deal. And therefore, the higher your rate of investment, your return on investment, your ROI. Now, this is super important. And this is kind of the only metric that you should really care about when it comes to investing is how much does every pound that you've got invested into a deal make for you, okay, in terms of a percentage. Now, with strategies like rent to rent, we can be getting 100% return on investment, but we still have to find the money to put into the deal, and then obviously we don't own anything. But with buy, refurb, refinance, because we're buying it cheap, we're adding lots of value, and then we're drawing the equity back out, You can either leave a little money in the deal, no money in the deal, which is obviously then an unlimited return on investment. But the great thing about buy, refurb, refinance is you can even be paid to be doing deals. Because if you can add enough value such that the end value of the property is high enough that when we take out a 75% loan to value mortgage, it not only covers the original purchase price, but the cost of development as well. If you can cover both of those and some, then you can make a profit on this as well. So not only do you own the house and any subsequent appreciation of that house, but you also own the profit that you get out. So any extras that the mortgage company pay out to you above and beyond the initial investment. Now that means that you are not only creating an unlimited return on investment, but you are getting all of your equity back out plus profit, allowing you to go again and again and again. So this strategy is incredibly powerful at creating long-term and generational wealth. So if you want to learn how to do this, if you want to be able to go and do projects like this yourself, either with your own capital that you've saved up or by working with investors, I've set some time aside in my team's calendars where we're offering a free 30-minute consultation call. Now on this call, we'll get to grips with where you are right now, what it is you're looking to achieve and where you want to get to, and we'll help you plan out your next steps. So if you're looking to do a buy-to-let or a buy, refurb, refinance strategy using these new methods, make sure you click the link down below in the description and I'll see you on the next video. Please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Bye-bye.